France had just been taken by the Nazis, and resistances had just appeared in France. This early rebellion wanted to harm or kill Germans, but this proved unsuccessful after Hitler ordered the extermination of French Jews and Communists in response. So the rebellion had to think of another way of harming the Germans without inviting retribution. Hitler had just put Field Marshal Rommel in charge of operations in the coast of France, in order to supervise the Atlantic Wall, which was a project to put defenses and walls around the coast of France, to keep out any Allied invasion into coming to France. But when Rommel got there, he was amazed on the state of the recruits. Conscripts either too old or too young, many gone soft because of alcohol and with no experiences at all. So he went to work right away. He sent veteran units to teach the less experienced recruits. He put mines all around the floor, and at low tide he planted a forest of wooden sticks with anti-tank mines, and stationed troops inland to stop the Allied advance in preparation for a counterattack. But planning around that counterattack was a problem, because the Germans didn't know where the Allies would land. For this, the German intelligence successfully deployed 20 agents in England. Unluckily for the Germans, those agents were actually owned by the Allies. They had been made double agents by the 20 Committee, one of MI5's secret services. One agent of the 20 Committee was a Catalan codenamed Gavo. He created a completely fictitious network of 27 agents who bombarded the German embassy in Madrid with messages, which fed the Germans with a highly credible fake intel, telling the Germans the invasion would come in the Pas-de-Calais. This, of course, was fake, as they were going to attack Normandy. But they needed to make sure the Germans continued to believe this, so they created army groups around Britain to confuse the Germans. The British Fourth Army was stationed in Scotland, supposedly preparing to attack Norway, and General George Patton became the proud commander of the 1st USA Army Group stationed on the English coast opposite the Pas-de-Calais, the closest crossing to France. Those two armies were somewhat unusual armies, as there were no actual people in them, because the Allies had no real soldiers to spare. So to get the Germans to fall for this, the film industry was called in. They created a brilliant illusion: an entire dummy army, wooden aircraft, inflatable tanks, fake landing craft, and 2 fake headquarters. At one point, King George made an official inspection visit, inspecting row after row of blow-up tanks and real troops that had been called in for the day, all while the news broadcasted this inspection to the world. The bad thing, though, is that the British didn't know if this had actually fooled the Germans. They needed to read German communications to be sure. The Germans used Enigma, an extraordinary encoding system. The codes were changed daily, and there were 159 million permutations, and they should have been impossible to read. But the British thought they could crack the code. They assembled a group of brilliant mathematicians, including Alan Turing, in Bletchley Park to do it. And then, in May 1941, a British ship forced an American U-boat to the surface and took a completely intact Enigma machine and codebooks. Soon, and for much of the war, the Allies were reading German messages. It was through this intelligence that the British learned that the 20 Committee had been stunningly successful. All while this was happening, the resistance had found a new target. After the Nazis occupied France, the conquering machine war needed resources and industrial power, 2 things France had in abundance. So that was the new resistance target: take out the factories and the railroads so the Germans couldn't use them. The Allies had the same idea. They parachuted agents into France to begin resistance networks of their own, recruiting citizens they could trust or linking up with existing groups if they could find them. One of those agents would have a radio that could transmit messages back to London, requesting supply drops with explosives and weapons. Then the Allies would go on to Radio London, a public French language station that had been created to specifically counter German propaganda and organize protests from safely across the English Channel. Radio London began to open and finish every program with a jumble of phrases that it called personal messages, which were actually coded messages for the resistance. The radio operators hiding in France would contact the British headquarters with the requested supply drop and give them a random phrase like, "I like pizza." Then the resistance members would listen at the radio set at home. If they said, "I like pizza," they would go to the prearranged drop points. This radio system would be the one used in D-Day. So the stage is set. 500,000 men have been gathered at station areas to move to Normandy as soon as the signal is given. The States, Britain, Canada, Australia, Belgium, Czechoslovakia, France, Greece, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway and Poland. And today, June 4th, 1944, planes prep, final drills are run through, tens of thousands of men board ships for the invasion, and then the rain starts to roll in. Soon it becomes a storm. Ferocious waves sweep the channel, clouds block the sky. High winds buffet any craft that ventures on sea, land, and especially air. Eisenhower is forced to delay the attack. Rain continues the 5th. A council of Allied commanders is called in. If they delay again, they won't be able to launch until July. They need to do the channel crossing at night. They need to do commander raids and minesweeping when the unsuspecting Germans will have the fewest patrols out. What do? They've got thousands of men already holed up on boats, getting seasick, nervous, and plain stir-crazy. They've already started moving equipment and forces into staging areas, clearly only be targeting Normandy. And they had to alert enough people up and down the chain to the nature of the operation that with each passing day, the odds of keeping the landing operation a secret plummet. But to cross in this weather, that would be madness. Then a captain is ushered in. He's an ARF meteorologist who says it will be clear on the 6th. The operation is a go. 6,000 ships begin to steam across the channel. Minesweepings go ahead, clearing the path. For weeks, the Allies have bombarded the Luftwaffe's planes nearly to oblivion. No enemy interceptors exist to spot the waves of planes and gliders carrying 17,000 airborne troops. The ships won't reach the beaches until dawn, but the airborne infantry has night work to do. First are the pathfinders, whose job is to light the light drop zones for all the other parachute infantry, but they don't do very well, and the parachute drop goes very bad. Scattered by enemy anti-aircraft fire and blinded by low clouds, the paratroopers jump from altitudes that are too high, leaving them drafting slowly onto the enemy emplacements who shoot at them, or too low, breaking bones and landing. They are scattered all over, landing on rivers, marshes, others drop right in the middle of the enemy. But the more veteran of the airborne troops, like the Screaming Eagles or the 505th, managed to pull together to capture bridges, crucial road points, and communication points. Then the Allies contact the resistance, which take out 577 railroads, 30 driving roads, and 32 communication sites. The initial Allied bombardment goes very bad, causing very big damage to civilian centers in Normandy, but doing little to weaken the German dug-in positions. As the bombers drop too far inland, the rockets fall short, and enable guns make little headway against the steel-reinforced bunkers. 145 tons of explosive dropped on Omaha Beach without killing any German soldier. As dawn breaks, though, the Allied bombers finally see their targets, so bombardment becomes more effective. The US beaches are called Utah and Omaha. The British will take Sword and Gold. Juneau will be taken by the Canadians. On Utah, things go horribly wrong. The men look around them, and the terrain is all wrong. They've landed on the wrong beach. Luckily for the Americans, the oldest man in the invasion, the only general to join these ground troops, and son of President Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt Jr., happens to have landed with them.
The local commandos ask him what they should do. To that, he responds, "We'll start the war from right here." He managed to reroute the entire Utah Beach invasion force to his location, direct the battle, and rally the men as he walked the beach with his cane waving his pistol. This would be the first beach to be taken. Omaha, though, was a different story. Here, the pre-landing bombardment had been less effective, the seas were choppy, and some of the landing craft sank. The soldiers who landed were seasick, and much of the armored support who were supposed to follow them foundered in the waves or who simply got picked off as they hit the shore. Soon the men were pinned down. The second wave met with the much same fate. Withdrawal was considered, but it was the linking point between British and American forces. As the day wore on, some ranger units began to rally and scale the bluffs, managing to assault German positions on the heights, just as the German ammunition began to run out. At Swordbridge, mine-clearing tanks thrashed the sand. Sappers ran beside them to disable mines and obstacles. Then come tanks and flamethrowers throwing themselves and the Germans' defences on the dunes. And then come the landing craft to relieve the cargoes of men. Despite heavy casualties, the British get through. It's a similar story on Juno and Sword, but the British and Canadians soon break through. Operation Overlord is finished, but the Allies could still be driven back into the sea.